Hi, this is Jake with Wild Jake Survival, and I'm going to demonstrate today how to teach you how to make some cordage out of dog bane or plant fibers, mostly bark today. We're going to use the bark off the dog bane to do that. We're here in Provo, and we're going to be gathering our materials along the river trip. Okay, this right here is a large grove of dog bane. Dog bane is the plant that we're going to use today. It's a reed, and this reed, when it dies, we can use the bark off of it to be able to make our cordage. So the stalks that we want to use are last year's stalks, and that's a good picture of what it looks like when it's living. Notice the leaf structure on the plant, the reddish brown color, and then it also gets really big seed pods in it as well. Okay, so this is what I was able to gather. These are last year's stalks, a lot of dead ones, and some of them are even the year before. Some of them are actually the end of this last season. So we're going to go ahead and use those and then make some cordage. I'm going to show you how to process this and make that rope. So here we go. First thing we want to do is take this. It's a hollow reed. We're going to crush it. When this naturally breaks, it breaks into quarters. So we're going to take half of it and use that. So once we've broken that, we'll just take that and split it. We're going to set half of this to the side. And then we're going to take this and we're going to fold this so that it folds away from us, so that we're folding towards the outside of the plant like this, and then we're going to roll this piece away and off of our finger. By doing this, we're actually peeling the bark backwards and off of the hard woody parts that are in the middle of this reed, like this. What we're left with is this fibrous bark material. So we'll just do that until we've got what we need make this rope or cordage. And I'll probably just refer to this as cordage instead of rope, but the two terms are interchangeable. So when you hear survivalists talk about cordage, or when you hear bushcraft forums speaking of cordage, what they're really talking about is rope that they've made. Now, doing this with this technique with the dog bane allows you to separate these fibers from the wood, and then allows you to be able to choose how thick the cord is going to be that you make. You can make something really thick and that you can use to lash together shelters with. You can also use this to make fishing line, thread, for sewing, anything that you need a type of rope for, or string. This is how you would do this. Now, this is a very primitive way of doing it. We're not using any machines or really any tools to do this, so it takes a little bit longer than modern techniques where they can take these fibers and attach them to a machine and spin them all at once. We're going to be making a 2-ply rope. You can make a 3-ply or even a 4-ply if you'd like, but it just takes more material and more time. I'm also going to show you how we splice this so that we can make our rope longer. But you can do this and make bowstrings with it as well. Dogbane is one of the preferred materials when making bowstrings by hand from natural plant fibers. It's one of the strongest out of all the different available materials. Other cord that you can use, or other plants that you can use to make cord, include yucca leaves, as well as flax can be grown and then used to make cord or rope. It's processed much differently than this, but it's also a really good source. Things like hemp have been used to make rope for hundreds and hundreds of years. Okay, so I just took those 2 quarters, or that half, and it was already broken into quarters, so I'm taking that and splitting it down where it was so that I can turn it and lay it the opposite along itself. And the reason I'm doing that is so that the thickness of this, where you have the thicker end of the plant at the base of the stem and then the thinner part of the plant up at the top, I want this cord to be even, so I split it down the middle and turned them around and laid them together so you have thick end to thin end and thick end to thin end, so that way when I'm spinning this I can get a cord that is pretty much the same thickness all the way throughout. Now I'm going to pinch this, and I'm going to pinch it so that I have more cord on one side than on the other. And that way when I make my splices or my joints, they're going to be at different places so that my weak spots in the cord are not the same. Now another thing that I'm going to do by twisting this with my hands, I'm going to feel in my fingers whether or not the cord is the same thickness and I have the same amount of material all the way through as I'm twisting. If it feels like it's starting to get thin, then what I'm going to do is add more to it so that it remains the same thickness. That way I don't lose the integrity or the strength of the cord that I'm using. So I'm going to pinch this. It's not in the center, and I'm going to start with this in my left hand because I'm right-handed, and I'm going to take this side that's closest to me and I'm going to twist it in my fingers towards me until I've twisted it so tightly that it is about to buckle or twist over on itself. That's how tight I want this twist to be. Then I'm going to take it and wrap it away from me so that now this one that I have not twisted is now the closest one to me. And again, I'm going to twist this one until it is about to buckle or fold over on itself. I'm twisting it toward me, and then I'm wrapping it away from me. Now what that does is it only wraps this halfway around the rope, okay? And it puts this one next to me now. So I'm going to again twist this toward me until it's about to buckle over on itself. See how that's twisting in and getting ready to buckle? Okay, and then I'm going to wrap it away from me. twist it toward me, wrap it away from me. And this is the technique that I'm going to use all the way down this bark until I have a length of cord the length that I want it. Okay. Now, by twisting this toward me and then wrapping it away from me, I'm putting a counter twist in the cord. Okay. So I've got this side and I'm going to twist it toward me, wrap it away from me. Twist it toward me, wrap it away. Now the neat thing about this cord is that when you do this and you twist it tightly, then this counter twist that it's putting on it allows it to actually pull against itself so that when you let go, it doesn't try to unwrap. That's including when you cut it or put a knot in it or anything like that. So I will continue doing this until I'm ready to splice it. Okay, so at this point, this side right here is starting to get thinner than this side. And so I'm going to splice a piece into this to make it thick, or back to where it was here. Because if I don't, and I allow this side to get really thin, and this side's thicker, then this one's just going to wrap around this as a center or a core piece instead of laying next to it like a rope, like this. So what I want to do is right here where I'm about to splice this, I'm going to take another piece of this bark and then I'm going to just lay it down on top of that piece right there, and then I'm going to continue spinning that by twisting it toward me and wrapping it away from me. Now, when you make these splices, you need to have at least 4 twists, so that's 2, 3, 4, before you add more bark to the other piece, so that you don't have a giant splice right in the middle. And I like to do 5 or 6 or more, so I like to make sure that I give myself plenty of room when I'm doing these splices so that these joints don't create a bulge in the cord, and so that I don't create a weak spot at that joint. So I'm gonna keep going here, and you can see that when you do that and you splice that in, there's the splice right there, okay, and the cord looks the same, and it's the same thickness all the way through, and it's hard to tell where the splice actually was, especially after I trim this piece off right here. You'll hardly be able to know where that splice was at. You'll notice I left a little bit of a tail there. That's so that as I'm twisting it in there, it doesn't pull through, and I can always trim that off. So we're almost done with our cord. I'm gonna keep going here and see how much more I can get, and we'll see if I need to make any more splice. Okay, because I pinched this in the middle right here when I started this cord, I have a loop that's already right here in the end of this. Okay, if I untwist this a couple lays, then I can open that up and get a loop right there. So because of that, I'm not going to need this incredibly long. It's about a foot long or so. That way I can tie it around the stick that I need, and then put this piece around by opening that loop into onto my trigger, and then use this. So this cord's gonna work for what I need it for. But if you notice, it's fairly uniform in thickness. It does bulge just a little bit in the middle trap, but not too much. I wanted to show you this. If I let go of this, because of that counter twist in the cord, it doesn't unwrap or unravel. And in fact, I can even cut that off. So I'm going to take this knife here. Watch how easily this cuts. Right through there. And if you'll notice that this piece here did not try to unravel once I cut it. So if you do this right, then you'll have a piece of cord that you can use just like a regular piece of rope. And we're going to go ahead and trim these edges here, or this splice that I made right there. And there's a little bit of a fuzz sticking out here, so we're going to trim that off too. I didn't splice that, it was just kind of extra. But see, now the rope itself is hard to tell where I actually spliced it. And by twisting it toward me and wrapping it away from me, holding this part in my left hand and twisting it with my right hand, I've put a clockwise spin in the cord. So if I need to tighten it, then I just twist it clockwise and it will tighten right up. So that's how you make cordage. Some other plant fibers that you can use that I didn't mention are stinging nettle. Stinging nettle works really well and has been used for centuries, as well as milkweed. So milkweed works really well too. We're going to go ahead and take this cord now and go make a trap with it. I'll just kind of tie it up like this so that it all stays together. There we go. Piece of cord made from bark. Dogbane.